need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
All right, Ashley has written me. Ashley has written me all the way from Michigan, and she writes, "Hi, Betsy. My husband and I bought our forever home a few years ago. It was a new build, but completely planned by the builder. We did not paint when we first moved in because everything was new and it was freshly painted. But now I am so sick of the beige on beige on beige. Our carpet is beige, our walls are beige, and the ceiling is also painted the same beige as the walls. We still have yet to put a deck on our house. Hopefully it gets done next summer. But once that is done, I am ready to start redecorating and bringing in some real color into this space. I am wondering about our living room and kitchen. We have an open design, one flows right into the other, only separated by a half wall. The kitchen has a white subway tile backsplash, a black, white, and gray speckled countertop, and cherry toned cabinets. The living room is beige with dark gray, almost blue looking at times furniture, which is a large couch and an oversized chair. I'm wondering how to bring color into both spaces and keep them cohesive. We've thought about painting, but some walls are also running down a stairway and downstairs. The house is a bi-level. Painting these walls would be a major job, and we still haven't been in the house all that long, so the paint is not really in bad condition. I'm also wondering about the area behind our sofa. We have a long living room, and our sofa is not up against the back wall because that would be ridiculous for watching TV on the opposite wall. What can I do with all this wasted space? We have thought about a credenza or a sofa table, but I just don't know. Lastly, my style phrase is sophisticated, calm, contemporary. I don't know if that's channeled here at all or if my style word is incorrect. Please let me know your thoughts and thank you. All right, well, Ashley, we have quite a few questions in here, so let me dig right in. Looking at your pictures, I'm going to start with the last questions and kind of work my way forward. Looking at your pictures, the space does look fairly contemporary, but I think your choices are actually more transitional. Yeah, I think you might be a little transitional. And transitional, as we know, is a blend of contemporary mixed with traditional. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because the light fixtures are kind of curved, and because you have a rolled arm sofa. It's not a full roll, but it's getting there. And also you have like chunkier moldings around the windows. But then you do have some elements of like industrial or even rustic. Kind of have this farmhouse style TV stand that has these sliding barn doors to conceal the implements, as well as a wooden top that's probably like a rustic style wood, but the actual piece itself is a white or an off-white. And then the coffee table is also a rustic style wood, but it has a bronze base. Hmm. Hmm. I'm feeling like you're transitional. I don't feel you're 100% contemporary, but I could see you using the term contemporary, and that would work too. That would work too, because I'm not seeing too much ornate detail. Your pictures are quite contemporary in the fact that they're framed very simply on simple ledges, not too much color, black and white. That stark contrast is making me feel that it's a little bit more of this day versus yesteryear. So yeah, I'm going to let you have this one. I think it is contemporary. And calm, calm is different for each person. And I think that this is calm in the fact that it is so subdued color-wise, right? As you mentioned, it's beige on beige on beige, and that's feeling very calm. Now, when you're adding in color, you're going to want to be thinking about calm colors, right? Because if you add anything loud, I think it's going to kind of detract from that calmness. You may want to think about being somewhat monochromatic and adding like different shades of a blue, but typically when we think calm, we think cool colors, or we could go for like very muted tones, but I would avoid like jewel tones. I would avoid anything too bright or vibrant if we're sticking with that calm, which is a word I really like for this space. And I think it really embodies it right now with all the beige. Now let's get into it. In terms of the paint, I agree with you that it is a lot of this color. And I also agree with you that this is a problem because it's open concept. It's open concept, so all the rooms bleed into each other and it goes down the stairs and it would just be a ton to paint. And also, what color would you actually choose? And because your style could lend itself to transitional, I really don't want you to do an accent wall or an accident wall. First of all, I never really like it when people paint one wall as different from all the others. That's never really my jam because it looks like you ran out of paint, or it looks like it should be done in a really contemporary space like an urban loft or something like that. I just don't think it fits here. I would keep the beige paint. The thing that's disappointing for me is that because the living room is carpeted and the carpeting appears to be pretty plush, you're not going to be able to lay an area rug on top of it. That area rug really could have served as your inspiration piece for the room and really could have driven a color palette. Now, you also have an opportunity to do a big inspiration piece for the room with your windows. You could do on the slider, you could do drapes that have a pattern and color. So that would be very helpful because it's like colorful art. Speaking of, let me just go back to your question here because when I was reading this, and then when I opened the pictures, I had two different experiences. I imagined that the area behind your sofa would be really vast and that it would look more ridiculous than it does. I imagine that behind the sofa to the wall is between 4 and 4.5 feet. I don't think it's all that deep back there. So trying to do anything more than a sofa table, I think would be too much and would actually kind of gum up the works in terms of walkways. Now, I would measure to make sure that your sofa is a good distance from the TV. You take the place from where your booty sits to the screen of the TV, you divide that in two in terms of inches. So let's just say from where your booty was to where the screen is, it's 140 inches. That's not what it is, but I'm just saying. You divide that by two, it's 70, and that's the size of your TV. This TV is probably 55, I would imagine, just eyeing this picture. So that means you want 110 inches from the front of the screen to where your booty sits on the couch. So make sure that your couch is truly in the right spot, because if you have less than 3 feet behind this couch, I don't want you to do a sofa table. Now, I do think a sofa table would be great because the one thing that you have a lot of in here are plants. And these plants are not distributed nicely around the room. They are tucked in corners right next to the windows. And I totally get it. Believe me, I listened to Maria Faella from Growing Joy when she was on our podcast. And if you don't listen to her podcast, you certainly should. Growing Joy with Maria. But anyway, the plants need light. I totally get that, even though I don't really have a green thumb. But I think they would be better placed if they were dispersed on different surfaces. So some plant stands, some on the sofa table, maybe even a couple on these floating shelves where you've got the artwork. Speaking of artwork, that's another great place where you can bring in some soft color. As I mentioned earlier, these are all black and white, and it feels kind of stark and severe, which I don't mind, but you're telling me that's the problem, that this room is kind of blah and doesn't have a lot of vibrancy or color, and it's a problem you're trying to solve. And if you're really wanting to solve it, I would switch out some of this art for some colorful art that's in subdued tones. I also think your pillows are really random, mishmash. We've got like a camel leather pillow. We've got this kind of green flocked pillow that's an emerald color. We've got these goldenrod lumbar pillows. We've got an ivory throw blanket with a filigree pattern in beige. I mean, we're a little all over the place with this color palette, considering I do not see an inspiration piece in this room because there's really nothing with multiple colors. And then Opening it up into the eat-in kitchen, you may want to consider a rug under the dining table or something, or a rug in that kitchen area, because right now it is so neutral over there. And you've already heard my recommendation that you don't paint. You do have leaning art above the cabinets. Good luck dusting that. But I think a rug would really help to add some color in a nice way, because the backsplash is so neutral as well, being that creamy subway tile. So there are a few ideas for you, Ashley. I think you're on the right track. I just want you to check those things that I mentioned. And yes, in these pictures, your sofas don't really read gray. They do read more of like a steely blue. So I love incorporating those blues because it is calming. It's a cool color after all. But we want to kind of make that random color make sense in the space. And right now, it's the only color in the space. A big thank you to Aton and the Embassy, who wrote our theme song. A shout out to Catherine Heller, who owns the podcast shop and is our editor extraordinaire. We also want to thank Ginny Sunasan and her team at the Savvy Podcast Agency for their help with our social, our YouTube channel, and so much more. We also want to thank Uploft, which is our parent company who supports this podcast. And lastly, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to you. Thank you so much for tuning in and for all your support.